Epstein, nor any of his friends abused women in the Epstein files. You don't know what it means to when a woman gets abused by a man. Todd Blanche, are you in the Epstein files? These are some of the worst liars and gaslighters we have seen in a very, very long time. But that's what Trump is, and that's who Trump hires, and that's who Trump keeps around him. Liars and gaslighters and manipulators. They're just not as good as Trump does it, and he's not too good himself at doing it, especially when he knows he's going to get impeached on midterms. Nobody's buying this rhetoric. They care less about the victims and more about the people that did what they did to the victims and protecting them instead. There should be no room in office for anybody that lacks this amount of integrity and would maliciously say things like this on a microphone, implying that every single victim who also disappeared was lying about what happened, because apparently there's no man that abused women in the Epstein files. This is after they redacted everything, and by the way, he just got caught in another lie saying we released everything and we wouldn't withhold anything when they accidentally released this document right here that we went over that they redacted. It's no longer on the website. These people have lied for so long that they've run out of lies. They are done for. They're backed up into a corner and there is nothing they can say or do. They know that their backs are against the wall and Americans are not having it. Lawmakers are turning, MAGA's turning. There's no one to convince. So the only people left to convince is themselves, but they know the truth. You can lie all you want to yourself, but America is going to reveal the truth to your face. So these people can either do the right thing or Americans will make them do the right thing. Such as this guy right here, Howard Lutnick, saying after he found out Epstein was a PDF, which completely goes against what Todd Blanche just said, says he completely stopped talking to Epstein after he found out what he was doing to women, or little girls more specifically. But then we find out there's 2012 emails between him and Epstein. They did talk. They've been talking. Matter of fact, the email was so bad he was asking Epstein to come back to his island again. But let's take a look at what Howard Lutnick had to say about this.
He opens the door and there's a massage table in the middle of the room. Ooh. And candles all around and stuff. So I ask very insightful, cutting questions. I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he gets weirdly close to me. Oh. And he says, and the right kind of massage. Ooh. Now my wife is standing here. So she looks at me. And I look at her, and we say, I'm sorry, we have to go. And we left. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again. So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going, because he's gross. I got game, she got game, we got game. And so I look back at it as a gift.
Yes.
He gave me a gift.
Yes.
Of boys. Yeah. So, yeah, that's my story. A one and absolutely done.
These people lie about their complete lives. One and absolutely done. What about this email in 2012, Howard Lutnick? Because you said that happened in 2005. Forwarded message from Howard Lutnick. Hi, Matthew and Candace. Might you be able to give Name a few more details regarding lunch this Sunday? Do you know if it will be just Howard and his wife? Any kids coming along? Will they arrive at Jeffrey Epstein's island via their boat? And around what time is good for them? If you could pass along what you know, that would be great. They are CC'd here. Thanks, Leslie. Leslie Groff appears to be Epstein's assistant, and they're all grouped together in this email, confirming that he did indeed create another visit to Epstein's island, going completely against his lie, the same as Donald Trump's lie, saying he threw him out of Mar-a-Lago and never talked to him again. So we're absolutely right. The White House is filled with a bunch of PDFs, and they're protecting them in the Epstein files, and they won't release the unredacted ones because they don't want mainly Trump's name getting out, but everyone associated with Trump also getting out there. They know what the result of that's going to be, and it's going to be far worse than impeachment and imprisonment, at least of one person. It's going to be a mass impeachment and imprisonment. Everybody's going down. There's nowhere to hide. There's no more lies to tell. You've been exposed time and time again. And most people don't understand how somebody can live this way for years. How do you lie to yourself for this long and think it's okay? That is something a child does, and you're an adult now. You're a grown man, a grown woman. Let's not forget when Megyn Kelly tried to stand up for Trump and Epstein and everybody in it, alleging that Epstein isn't a PDF, saying that 15 isn't that bad and at least they weren't 10, when we clearly see they've been 13 and all types of ages. But let's hear her words out of her mouth defending Trump yet again, because she is what's left of MAGA. Let's take a look at this clip.
As for Epstein, I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like, he liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts. That he wasn't into, like, 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than they were, but would look legal to a passerby. And that is what I believed, and that was what I reliably was told for many years. And it wasn't until we heard from Pam Bondi that they had tens of thousands of videos of alleged, forgive me, they used to call it porn, now they call it child sexual abuse material, on his computer, that for the first time I thought, oh no, he was an actual pet, and only a pet gets off on young children videos. She's never clarified it. I don't know whether it's true. I have to be honest. I don't really trust Pam Bondi's word on the Epstein matters anymore. Yeah, so I don't know what's true about him, but we have yet to see anybody come forward and say, I was I was under 10. I was under 14 when I first came within his purview. Look, you can say that's a distinction without a difference.
No, it's not.
I think there is a difference. Yeah. There's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old. You know, it's just whatever.
This is who the remainder of MAGA is, justifying so much of what Trump does that they'll even justify being a PDF and being